Attack on Titan was my favorite show and piece of media entertainment ever. I use was purposefully. While the ending may have disappointed myself and many others, the greatest moments of the show are most definitely one of the peak realms of fiction, no matter whether you're speaking on movies, video games, anything that's narrative based. The heights that Attack on Titan reached were truly phenomenal. But today, I'll be facing all my focus on the main protagonist, Erenyeager. His development from the beginning of the show has been phenomenal. And there are many videos that are on YouTube as well that demonstrate his immense evolution as a character and as a man. I want to consider how his transformation drive and motivate, and when you analyze his entire being and character, his entire journey is a great representation of the plight of masculinity, the positives and the negatives. Now, there are a number of characters that fit this mold, particularly if we consider the heavyweights in the seinen genre. Characters that come to mind are Guts from Berserk, Thorfinn from Vinland Saga, Miyamoto Musashi from Vagabond, and Shin from Kingdom. But the character of Shin from Kingdom perhaps isn't the best representation of this. Shin is the typical shonen, generic, goofy character. Characters that come to mind if you want to visualize him are characters such as Naruto and Luffy. Good-hearted, but overall simple men. They push forward in their struggles, but it's difficult to follow or truly respect a man who constantly acts like a fool. This is part of the reason that bothered me, especially towards the end of Naruto. Naruto had grown and become such a sensational character that it genuinely bothered me when characters such as Sakura still treated them without respect. That's something that I greatly appreciated in Attack on Titan. While there were of course genius characters such as Erwin, Armin, and even Zeke, they were geniuses in their particular field, there wasn't one character that was a bimbling idiot, more similar to real life. You can't survive in such a cruel world and for such a long period of time without having a modicum of intelligence and drive to you. Now if you consider Erenjaeger once again, in the beginning, he was the typical shonen protagonist. He wasn't goofy, but he ultimately made poor decisions because of his searing rage. Now of course, it's understandable. His mother was brutally eaten by a titan in front of his eyes, so his anger was completely justified. And the show did a good job of making us understand this and end up rooting for him despite his troublesome anger. But like in real life, over time the cruel world around him humbled him and pushed him back down to side. He was forced to realize that he wasn't as powerful as he thought he was, and that he would actually need his comrades to pursue and complete his goals. Trusting his comrades was a strong theme in the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan. This was needed for Eren to gain their trust and for the Survey Corps to gain the trust of Eren. But at the very same time, the show made it clear that the power of friendship was not going to guarantee success. There are multiple times in the show where Eren chose to obey his superiors and suffered greatly for his decision. Insert Levi Squad vs. Annie. He chose to follow their advice and obey the orders of his superiors, but unfortunately that ended in their untimely demise. This foreshadowing makes his final development sensational. When the truth of the walls was finally revealed, he finally realized that the power was in his hands. Would Eren obey his superiors or follow his own path? Clearly he chose the latter. He chose a path of great resistance that would result in the saving and death of millions. Erenyeager is a great representation of the plight of masculinity because he did what he had to do no matter the circumstances to save his people. Whether or not he knew what he was doing was morally wrong was irrelevant. No matter how many people disagreed with him, he chose to keep moving forward. He refused to bend and fold at any time. I link his character to masculinity because his undeniable calmness, stoicism. Stop. When did this all change? What was the trigger point of all of this? And what decision did he choose to make? It all happened there, at the ocean, that sea breeze. He decided everything, he felt everything. He accepted reality for what it was. At that very point in the ocean, he had many choices and many paths that he could have chosen. But out of all of them, he chose to take the realistic one that would be the most difficult, one that would ultimately end everything without a doubt. What decisions were laid out in front of Erenjaeger? There were choices of doing nothing, acting ignorant, not acting at all, continuing with life, hoping and praying and waiting for the next attack that would eventually come from the enemies on the other side of the ocean. He could have sided with his comrades who preferred the more idealistic approach, who thought that peace was still on the table. But why do I associate Erenjaeger's plight with masculinity? Because he chose the most difficult choice, but no, he chose the most realistic choice. Out of all things, he identified the situation that the Eldian people were in. He took reality to the face and acted accordingly. He did not think idealistically. He realized that the other people on the other side of the ocean viewed them as monsters. He recognized their situation. He recognized what had been done to them. He thought that it was some freak accident that his mother was eaten by a titan. But it all turned out that it was all planned out by the enemy. A true shame. And from the culmination of those memories, all those events that happened in this life, he realized that in the end of it all, he had very, very few choices. At the end, in his mind, it was kill or be killed. Eren's transformation truly began here. The path that he walked before was no longer going to be successful and would no longer suffice in the dark path that he had chosen to take. He was no longer that ignorant boy of the past. He was no longer blinded by searing rage. He became a methodical, empathetic man who saw both sides. He understood the goals and motivations of his enemies. He was no longer ignorant. He no longer yelled tirelessly and hopelessly. He simply keeps moving forward toward his goal. Kill or be killed, destroying all in his way. I looked up to Erenjaeger and his character. He reminded me how important it was to keep pushing forward, no matter how hard it got. In today's world, masculinity isn't something that's celebrated as it used to be. And I'm sure that some of you would find it difficult to find suitable role models in these difficult times. But understand that there's no need for you to become a carbon copy of the hero that you emulate. Emulate the positive traits that you see in that person and move on. Now, the ending of Attack on Titan may change or perhaps even retcon a large amount of the things that I've talked about today. But I don't think that matters at all. The Erenyeager that I remember was the man that he showed us, the man that he seemed to be, the man that we saw before the end. A man who keeps moving forward until his enemies are destroyed.
You're bigger, bigger, why do you hide? I was cheaper, cheaper, it's suicide, but if the thought inside, to give a call or run, you're a zero, you're bigger.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that video. I haven't really posted anything anime related on this channel as of yet, but definitely the focus is definitely more so on the gaming side. So that's what I'm vibing with right now, but this is a piece that I just had to make. Attack on Titan was such an important part of my life during its runtime, and I just had to share a piece of it, particularly how Erenyeager, such a sensational character, was able to move me during that time. Even the ending, though the ending may have changed some of those opinions, it was truly a memorable experience. Thank you guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you enjoy these type of videos, make sure you like. Let me know down there in the comments. Next video will be coming out soon, probably will be the Yakuza Kiwami 2 review. So look forward to that. Check you next time, guys.